Hi, my name is Senior Constable Rebecca Boucher. I'm currently working at Queenstown Police Station on the West Coast, where I've been for just over 4 years now. I've just recently returned to work after having my first child. Today, my presentation will be discussing the perspectives of learning and how they can be applied to adult and adolescent learning, which is relevant in police training on a daily basis. We will be discussing the characteristics surrounding adult learning, as well as the perspectives of behaviourism, cognitivism, humanism, social constructivism, and situated learning within a community of practice. Adult learning is made up around a set of characteristics that build up a framework or model. The model, andragogy, is often referred to for adult learning, which was used and publicised by Malcolm Knowles, a famed adult educator. The model concentrates on concepts such as adults needing to know the reason they need to learn something. It also explains that adults preserve the idea of responsibility for their own lives and decisions they make within them. Adults enter into the learning model with a more vast and varied life experience than children and react better to internal motivators than external. Adults also display a willingness to learn what they need to know to enable them to cope successfully with real situations. Adult and adolescent learners prefer to work at their own pace and learn in diverse ways which can be influenced by their personalities, intellectual ability and education level. This also means they present to a classroom with an already established broad range of experiences, beliefs and opinions. Learning by behaviourism focuses on learning as a result of a consequence for one's actions or behaviour. Behaviourism concentrates on the change in behaviour in the learner when a stimulant is added which is either positive or negative. A positive stimulant could be a reward or encouraging feedback, and a negative could be unpleasant feedback or even punishment. Learning by behaviourism is more likely to be successful if the person is a motivated and positive person. These people will approach challenging problems with a positive mindset and bounce back quicker when hitting a problem or setback along the way. A learner that has poor self-worth or motivation is likely to avoid these problems or not attempt the challenges at all. Different behaviours can be learned if a positive or negative result is achieved and reoccurring over time. This can be used when teaching your dog to come when called. If you continue to teach the dog the behaviour without something to reinforce the outcome, it is likely it would be unsuccessful. But if you reward your dog with an edible treat when it comes, you are introducing a positive result. After repeating this action for a while, your dog is likely to come when it's called, as it's learned to associate the behaviour with a positive result. Behaviourism can be used in policing by an effective and motivating supervisor. Members, especially working the front line, are set with personal performance indicators or benchmarks that are generally made up of traffic infringement notice. If a member does not achieve their results, disciplinary action may be taken. This being the case, members that are achieving their benchmarks should be praised or rewarded for doing so. By rewarding the good results, those members would be likely to continue repeating that behaviour. The learning perspective, known as cognitivism, looks at building knowledge from previously learned knowledge. This means the person learning must already have previously stored knowledge or experiences on a matter. A new part or aspect from that matter must be then learned and added. The person can then establish a relationship between the stored knowledge and new knowledge to always view that matter in a different way for future cases. Boucher was one of the earliest cognitivists who would view children as little scientists. Boucher believed that children learned and developed their knowledge with common interaction with the world. The basic knowledge that children learn through these interactions, known as schema, which can change and become more complicated when the child learns and discovers more about the item or matter. The knowledge of that item the child is learning will then be added to schema, already in that child's mind, otherwise a new schema will be produced. An example of this within Tasmania Police would be driving. As a recruit entering the academy, it is a prerequisite to hold a current driver's licence. Prior to commencing at the academy, the member would have some knowledge of driving, including aspects to do with the vehicle, manoeuvring and road rules. When entering the academy, they would undertake vigorous driver training to allow them to successfully conduct urgent duty drives, vehicle intercepts and park their car appropriately. The member has further built on their driving knowledge from previously learned knowledge. This continues to expand further into the job with additional skills learned once graduated from the academy and working on the streets. This can include the four-wheel drive course, where members undertake a 3-day course to learn skills needed to take a police four-wheel drive vehicle off the road and over rough terrain. They are again adding further knowledge to what they already know. The learning perspective, known as humanism, focuses on the person being self-motivated to learn. It focuses on the view that the educator is a facilitator rather than a teacher. As humanism focuses on self-motivated learning, a facilitator is there to assist the learner by providing guidance to help them maximise their full potential, rather than just pouring information into them. Good qualities in a facilitator are described as genuineness, acceptance, and understanding. American psychologist Abraham Maslow created the model known as hierarchy of needs, which demonstrates the motivation of human beings. The model is represented as a triangle, with 5 levels, the bottom being the widest and the most important for human learning. The base level in this case is psychological needs, which are humans naturally motivated to learn, such as food, water, warmth, and rest. The second level is safety needs, which would be the security and safety of a human. The third level is belongingness and love needs, which includes both intimate relationships and friends. The fourth level is esteem needs of prestige and feeling of accomplishment. The top level is self-actualization, which is when a person achieves their full potential, including creative activities. An example of humanism is policing is the University of Tasmania programs that Tasmania Police now offer. These courses are offered for a member to enter or continue the promotional process, but also further study and/or complete a Bachelor in Police Studies. These courses are not compulsory, but offered for members to partake, research and complete to further better themselves. Internal studies in Tasmania Police are study packages online that members are required to read to remain compliant with current protocols and skills. A way to ensure training with a humanism perspective is to make the packages entertaining and interesting. An example would be with operational skills, by including real-life videos at incidents that could have been handled differently. At the conclusion of the video clips, it would contain information on what was done wrong, but also what could be done differently to achieve a better result. This engages the audience and makes the learning appealing to undertake. Social learning is when a person learns by watching another who is more capable or knowledgeable in a certain task. People are social learning from a very young age without being consciously aware. A human is a social learning when they learn to brush their teeth, sit in a chair, or even open a door. If the person achieves a positive result, they are replicating this behaviour off another person, then they will continue to do it. If the person doesn't get a positive result, then they are likely to stop that behaviour. Lev Vygotsky developed the zone of current development model to explain this way of thinking. In the middle is what a person can already do, and this is known as the zone of current development. It is believed a person on their own cannot further develop past this ring. The second ring is where a person receives guidance or assistance from a more knowledgeable person to achieve better results and outcomes. This is known as the zone of proximal development. The third ring is what a person is not capable or cannot do. An example of social constructism is a child learning to read. Most children learn to read by listening and pointing out to the words and saying them themselves with the help of an adult who knows how to read. During this period, the child is in the zone of proximal development. The child continues to learn this way until they are able to read on their own. This model is demonstrated in policing when it comes to academy training, especially with firearms. Extensive training is conducted by the instructor, where the recruits watch how firearm is used. After a while, they are allowed to use the firearm alongside the instructor with constant guidance. After further training, the recruit will be capable of using that firearm on their own. Situated learning is a term that is used to describe a person's ability to learn through experiencing an active engagement in the world. Etienne Wenger, in conjunction with Jean Lave, came up with the term of communities of practice, which describes a person's knowledge and skills that are developed through social interaction with other people who are completing the same task. These communities of practice are formed by people who involve themselves in the process of sharing their knowledge and experience to achieve a better outcome or result on a task or job. This type of learning can be observed in the everyday role of a police officer. At the police academy, you are taught the basics of how you should deal with a job you are tasked to attend. However, in the real-life environment, every job is presented differently and should be handled accordingly to the situation. Most jobs police attend with at least 2 members are present, with varying experience between members. Members are likely to discuss the job they have been tasked to whilst en route, and in the process will exchange their experiences in similar situations. The less experienced member might be more familiar with the current legislation as they have just graduated, but the more experienced might have better communication skills and have a rapport with the people that they are dealing with. This is supported by the department with recruits when they do infield placement known as outstations halfway through the academy course. Here they are paired up with an experienced police officer for 2 weeks to observe and learn whilst out in the real job. Once graduated, they are also first sent to a training station where they are able to work alongside with an experienced officer to further gain knowledge and experience before moving onto a more isolated station. That is now an end of our presentation. Thank you very much for listening.